Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty breaking news when it comes to Insomniac games. Now, if you guys are kind of curious on Insomniac itself, basically this company has been going through everything these past few days. There's been massive leaks, there's been extortion, there's been actual, literal, apparently cyber terrorism going on when it comes to the company itself. And now with all this ongoing, people have definitely been, well, sharing their future plans, their ideas, their financials, their revenues, and even my own self have made quite a few videos on it, because it's well, number one, kind of a weird subject to go and cover, but number two, it's just a lot of industry information. It's already kind of been widespread anyway, so I feel like, okay, I can maybe go and cover it. Now, when it comes to this, though, we're actually seeing even worse news, where apparently Insomniac might actually now be, number one, losing a lot of PlayStation funding, number two, might be doing some layoffs, and number three, the company itself actually will be maybe closing down as well. Now, if I put Insomniac, like, closing down the title, it is technically, like, on that weird clickbait realm, where, like, the whole entire company as a whole is not shutting down, but they actually will have maybe small subsidiaries and small parts of Insomniac also shutting down. So in theory, that might be a really good title. Like, don't judge me for the YouTube algo or whatever, but it is in theory actually kind of true. So I'm going to go talk about these leaks, talk about this information, and as well, this is also been floating around quite a bit when it comes to news, when it comes to information, but we also been seeing this when it comes to Bungie as well, and we've also been hearing internal leaks from that too, so it does kind of line it up. So once again, speculation, and as well, there's a lot of reason for it, so let's go talk about it. So make sure you guys are subscribed, notifications on, the $500 PlayStation 5 Slim giveaway, so follow the Twitter and Twitch down below for those extra entries, and let's go and dive on in. So first and foremost, if you guys have kind of missed the two, I'll cover this really quick before new stuff. Number one, Insomniac got hacked. We got information on the upcoming next, like, 7 games or so, and the timelines. We got revenue numbers for big games like Ratchet and Clank. We got revenue numbers in terms of Marvel and their X-Men deals. We got just a lot of big stuff when it comes to PC markets, how they're kind of afraid of Xbox, everything. We got a lot of stuff, and even more stuff to cover on the channel, so subscribe for that. But as well, we've also been seeing on the opposite spectrum, Bungie, the good old company Destiny 2, has also had to go and face multiple waves of layoffs when it comes to their companies because PlayStation's pressuring them to, number one, cut back on spending, and number two, also try to go drive new sources of revenue, and number three, also focus on that live service aspects for the games themselves. So we're going to talk about this because apparently some of these excerpts over here from these leaks too are even more intriguing, where it does kind of go and say that they have to go and save money. Basically, big head honchos at PlayStation are telling Insomniac, the company that's made Spider-Man 2, working on Wolverine, and honestly, kind of one of the bigger studios. I'd probably say the top 3 studios over here, between maybe Naughty Dog, although they've been a little bit absent for this generation, and all the other various things too, like Santa Monica, etc., etc. So for this, here's some of the bigger experts over here from Post Up, with them saying, breaking news, Insomniac has now been pressured by Sony to make budget cuts despite the overwhelming success of Spider-Man 2, where the layoffs will continue across the board, and there will also be a studio closure too as well, which is also one of the PlayStation subsidiaries, and like I said, I'm not 100% sure if it's tied to on the Insomniac side or not, but I do believe it has some sort of ties with it, so let's go talk about it. These and other presentations, overall, like a lot of these big leaks in terms of numbers and revenues, provide a clear sense that Insomniac, despite its successes and the seemingly resources of the parent company, PlayStation, Sony, is grappling on how to reserve the trend of ballooning blockbuster development cost. We have to make a future AAA franchise games for $350 million or less, reads one slide from the Sustainable Budgets presentation from earlier on this year. In today's dollars, that's like making Spider-Man 2 for $215 million. That's $65 million less than our Spider-Man 2 budget. And then another slide puts the problem up more starkly, is 3x the investment in a Spider-Man 2 evident to anyone who plays the game. Now, this also kind of maybe dives into a separate subject I want to go dive into as well in the future, is that number one is that games are expensive, and I almost want to say like Phil Spencer is also chiming in too as well, so like I said, we might bring this up in another video, but right now these games are getting a lot of money. Like, you have to go and sell millions upon millions of copies for games, and some games, like say a Spider-Man game, will most likely match those games and do way better, even how Spider-Man 2 did. But there's also going to be a point where, let's say for current Marvel movies, where sometimes it doesn't make that profit. If it gets oversaturated because they know that that's the winner, that's what happens to a lot of Marvel movies. Think like even like a Morbius. Like, people are assume that would make money, they throw in the Marvel tag, but sometimes if it's not an interesting plot, or just not a good movie, bad reviews, or it's just kind of like more filler, or before you get oversaturated, it's not as good and you'll lose money. So what's going to happen in the future if you spend $350 million on a game that doesn't make the money back? Think also GTA 2 as well. They spend billions of dollars. They're probably going to make that money back. But at the same time, guess what? What if they didn't? What if they had a really mediocre game? A more recent presentation in November points to potentially more drastic cuts. Slimming down Ratchet and cutting new IPs will not account for the reduction Sony is looking for. That's a big thing. Slimming down Ratchet and cutting new IPs. So basically just not either doing new hiring or kind of maintaining current contracts. They basically put that from a PowerPoint stating over here from Insomniac head Ted Price. To remove 50 to 75 people strategically, our best option is to cut deeply into Wolverine and Spiderman 3, replacing lower performers with team members from Ratchet and the new IP. Now, also, I want to remind you guys, this is like, I would probably say technically a studio closure, even from the tweet itself we're referencing, but just in the overall general vibe, is that when it comes to studio closures, you could also have subsidiary closures too as well. So think like something like Ubisoft, where they have multiple different different sections doing different things in Ubisoft, or same thing for these same PlayStation subsidiaries. So sometimes these bigger companies, such as say Bungie, could still go and have smaller studios underneath them, or big, smaller teams underneath the Bungie brand, and that's, I believe, what's going on over here for Insomniac, or parts of Insomniac do seem like they will be shutting down and doing layoffs now, and this almost kind of seems like it's confirmed for these actual things themselves, saying they have to remove 50 to 75 people strategically, and they also want to go cut these individual teams, because right now there's multiple games in the works confirmed by these leaks. Wolverine, Venom, Spider-Man 3, Ratchet and Clank, and a few other various IPs, the X-Men overall game. So there might actually be a time where the studio actually will be cutting down their individual subsidized and smaller parts of the studios. Insomniac as a whole will be fine. Smaller subsections of Insomniac now has been confirmed by Ted Price, one of the bigger executives over at Insomniac, that they're not going to be doing well. So business plans change, and Sony would not confirm if the discussed cuts are still on the table or are already completed. But as a note file referencing a November 9th PlayStation offsite meeting reiterates that 50 to 75 number of cuts, the note suggests that cuts are being asked of other PlayStation studios as well, and that's one of those bigger things too. It said, including the line, there will be one studio closure. Sony did not respond when asked to clarify. So this either could be, like I said, kind of in their own individual subsection of an actual proper studio, or as well, part two is that they can maybe just be even shutting down like parts of Insomniac. But either way, there's gonna be layoffs regardless, and I do think either way they are gonna be cutting off either, honest to God, maybe something like Ratchet and Clank, which would really hurt me a lot to go and say and see, but Ratchet and Clank's a big thing to go and know. And for one, I don't want to lose specific IPs that may not be the biggest performers. I want them to have like a specialty team that's going to enjoy the game, and losing people and having more layoffs is rough. And once again, we have also already seen this for Bungie. We know Bungie exists. We know Bungie has had issues. We know Bungie overall had to just needs to make revenue, or else PlayStation's going to step on in, like the big head honcho is going to try to take over the company. And as of right this second, it seems like all these other big ones that are mostly working independently from what we've seen publicly, think Naughty Dog, think Insomniac, etc., but for these, they might actually have even more oversight from PlayStation, because if you spend $300 million, that's a lot of money no matter what, especially if you have multiple projects on the line or a huge massive partnership such as Marvel that you need to make sure is always maintained and happy. And this is why it's a little bit scary, because if Insomniac is shutting down, or they have small subsidiaries shutting down, or they're having employees will be leaving too as well, whether it's already happened or not, and I just feel like based on the fact that it was a November 9th meeting, and it's only been December, most of the time companies like to keep people throughout the holidays too as well if they can, because you never want to, that's really bad PR, especially with how bad the Bungie layoffs have been. You don't want to have a double whammy. Like, you don't want to have Bungie in the news nonstop, which it was pretty big for a while, and then have Insomniac literally right afterwards too, because once again, that's also a pretty big deal. So seeing all this type of stuff is not fun to see. It's not good PR. It looks really bad. It definitely would also go and cut down stockholder price points, say for Sony stock, and especially even earlier on today, we had Jim Ryan also go and sell stock. If you guys missed that video, check that out now. And right now, it seems like this is an absolute cluster. And this is rough, because Insomniac also has to still deal with the ongoing issues of them still having to go and deal with the hack. Like right now, this hack is releasing this information. So they haven't had really a chance to even respond to this information right now. So what if you're working at Insomniac and now you see this leak where there's going to be big layoffs? What if you are going to be now worried about your job in the future? Or what if you're putting up like a brand new IP that's not even released or talked about? And they have mentioned new IPs as well in these leaks. And what if you're like, hey, Apparently Sony can't afford this. This is not good, like for job security and everything. So this is bad. Like overall, I feel horrible for this one too. Now there is also other options that Insomniac may not be the studio getting shut down, like I said. So it's either a part layoff for them or a part other studio, but we'll have to go and see at the end of the day. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the $500 giveaway and PlayStation 5 giveaway too as well. Follow the Twitter and Twitch for the bonus giveaways. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching in the first place.